first of all, who is GreenField Specialty Alcohols? In fact, we're the Canadian leader, and we're producing industrial alcohol, fuel-grade ethanol, and all the co-products. The way we operate our plants, co-products is key because the process itself does not generate residues that we have to dispose of, okay? We're private, 470 employees, annual revenues in excess of $800 million. We have 3 plants in Ontario, Tiverton, Chatham, and Johnstown, and the one in Varennes. And we produce roughly more than 700 million liters per year in our 4 facilities, okay? We have packaging plants for industrial alcohol in Ontario and the US. You might not know that, but you're all our clients at the present time, okay? If you're using cosmetics, paints, aerosols, whatever you want, this is done, This is done with our industrial alcohol over here. We invest a whole lot in R&D. We have our own labs, research that we do in Ontario, and we're very active in cellulosic feedstocks pretreatment. We have our own technologies. Anaerobic digestion, 2-stage for us. We're going to talk a bit more further, and also other demonstration. Okay. Varennes, we started the plant way back in March the 1st, 2007. We're just about the most, within the most efficient in North America. Roughly there's about 200 ethanol plants in North America have been built over the past, let's say, 35 years. They do not behave all the same way. There's no such thing as, let's say, secure characteristics of ethanol production. It goes by series, and the yields will vary greatly, as well as the energy. We produce in equal quantities alcohol, protein animal feed, dry ice, which is valorizer CO2, corn oil, and again, no residues. Okay? In Varennes, we maintain important R&D activities also, whether it's ethanol processing optimization, feedstocks, alternate to grain, cellulosic feedstocks technology. I'll talk a bit about algae in a different way that your question was asked. And we're also a founder and the board administrator of the Sherbrooke University chair on biofuels. This is the distillery itself, okay? It is conventional. At the present time, it produces 185 million liters of alcohol per year. Characteristics of the following is that, first of all, it's a very tight design. The reason for this is because of energy integration, okay? It does not have at all a conventional powerhouse. The grains are dried up in this building where the dryers are, and it is the heat recuperated from the dryers in the thermal oxidizer, which is used to produce the steam to drive the columns in distillation, which are over here, okay? Same thing that the processed wastewater is recycled through 2 diabatic digestion unit. You don't see it here behind, and the water is circulated. So basically, this is give a good environmental footprint. And I'll drive you now slowly to how do we evolve, okay? We've heard the presentation about Enercam. There's a joint venture called Vanerco, which is over here, okay? Effectively, like we put together maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And the idea is to build on our site in Varennes and integrate to the distillery a classical 40 million liters of ethanol from ultimate residual municipal waste, okay? The setup is different than Edmonton. Edmonton, the thermochemical module is built on the site of the waste facility. In Varennes, it's built within the plant. We will be sharing some infrastructures, whether it's utilities, roads, lab facilities, that type of stuff. Theoretically, we should be about in ethanol production around 2020, okay? What will it look like? Like this. So you have the existing facility that I showed about. ADs are there, by the way, okay? This is the module that comes into the plant, basically to bolt on and add to the existing facility another 40 million liters of production. Okay? Secondly, anaerobic digestion. We always talk about distilleries and alcohol and second generation fuels and whatnot. We have to think about energy. And what do we use as energy in our process? We all use natural gas, right? So we're trying to produce a product, let's call that renewable fuel, to displace fossil fuels. And we start with our process using fossil fuels to fire the plant. We have to get off of that cycle fast, and anaerobic digestion is one answer to that. Yesterday, my mayor talked about CEMEX. So basically, it is the four partners, 3 regional municipalities, and Biogas EG, which I'm the president of, and this is our arm now in anaerobic digestion. Roughly, we have the organic waste from 270,000 population, okay? Roughly, it's a nameplate of 40,000 tons per year facility. This is a nameplate, okay? It can peak up to about 55,000. The biomethane produced by the CEMEX project will be used by the Valence distillery into the thermal oxidizer in partial displacement of the existing natural gas. Initially, we're talking between 15 and 20%. So basically, it lowers our cost and improves our greenhouse gases footprint. Also, Also, over here, we have the digestate, which we give back to our local farmers as a fertilizer for their corn supply. And basically, this also contributes to greenhouse gases. The project presently is breaking ground by late fall. In fact, it's on November 1st. I have the board on the 28th. I got a construction contract. Then we're ready to go. It will look like this, okay? No relationship between a dump site and that facility. These are the digesters, by the way. CRB project. This is an R&D project for, let's call that, biotechnology demonstration. We're all a big group in there. CRB, GreenField, Quebec Hydro, Enercam, Natural Resources, SDTC. And we have a demonstration plant in 2 campuses. Westbury does the preparation of cellulose at feedstocks, and Varennes does the fermentation, distillation, sorry, and ethanol from various feedstocks. We're not limited to one, okay? You can use homogeneous biomass, quasi-homogeneous, Yindi wood, dedicated crops, and industrial commercial issues, residues. Westbury is presently in construction. Varennes is completed. The idea also is to have the preparation of different feedstocks. Could it be hemp at one place and other things like corn stovers or wood at others, but when the time comes to the production of the end product at the centralized place in the distillery. It looks like this, okay? Look over here, there. We have 2 tanks like that. These are 35,000 liters fermenters. It's a demo plant, by the way, okay? And the reason for this is it's the size of a tanker. You have here the distillation column and membrane filtration here at the back. So we can take any feedstock from an R&D facility, bring it in, and turn it into the end product, which is the ethanol itself, and developing all about the kinetics and the process criteria to design the full-scale module. Integrated refinery. What do we mean by this? Is that we take the conventional plant that we have, optimized, add to it different modules of different technologies, all the same place, okay? Thermochemical, biotechnical, some algae, anaerobic digestion, process values, same platform, in synergy and complementary to one another. Sometimes the output of one process becomes the input of the other one, or a waste of a process becomes an input for the other part, okay? And as much as possible, being free from fossil fuel use. Integrated refinery will be fed simultaneously from the varieties of composed of homogeneous feedstocks, the same feedstock I was talking about. Outcoming products, renewable ethanol, protein animal feed, CO2, oil, biomethane, digestate, P-fuels, chemicals, lignin, cellulose pellets, sugars, hydrogen, etc. All from the same platform, and it looks like this, okay? So, this is the existing plant. This is the existing CO2 dry ice facility. The small project I told you about, the CRBL in 700, which is the R&Ds over there. This is where Enerchem is coming on our site. This is where we're going to develop our future island about cellulosic ethanol. And the anaerobic digestion plant I've talked to you about is right here, okay? We have a second stage of that to become in this specific area. So in the time, this is what we do call the Varennes Integrated Biorefinery. Now, why do we do all of this? I mean, are we just there to put the steel and concrete and whatnot for fun? The answer is no. The only reason we're doing this is greenhouse gases in the transportation sector. I don't know if it's typical, but in the province of Quebec, roughly 43% of all of the greenhouse gases that we generate in the province comes from the transportation sector, okay? At the present time, in Canada, by the way, all my comments will be made for Quebec specifically. So I'm not familiar necessarily with the states or whatsoever. So sometimes I may make comments that may sound, let's say, bizarre to you, but it's always related to my situation. So federal Canada mandates the use of renewable fuels 5% in volume in the conventional gasoline, okay? When we look at our local market, this 5% represents roughly a local market of 450 million liters per year of ethanol into the gasoline. The Varennes plant today produces 185, and we're the only producer. So the consequence of that mandate is to generate imports from essentially United States by train, okay? At the present time, Varennes, since 10 years of operation, each liter that we produce of alcohol that displaced the equivalent liter of gasoline leads to a net reduction of 2 kilograms of CO2 equivalent of greenhouse gases, as calculated by independent consultants using GH Genius model adapted with Quebec-specific data, okay? And I'll be talking in the next slides about the greenhouse models. There's no such thing as a set of data for a typical process or typical feedstock. You have to look at the whole cycle. The plant siting is important. The energy you use is important. Basically, 2 kilograms mean what? Well, roughly 62% versus conventional gasoline. This is the data for 2014. This is real data, okay? Are you familiar with what we call GH Genius? Some of you? No? Okay. In US, you have GREET or other models like that, okay? And these models, what they do, they take the whole cycle of production. If you're putting a seed in the ground, how much energy it took to prepare the seed and then harvest and whatever you want. But we have lessons to conclude from those analyses. The way that greenhouse gases Genius works, this is what we call the reference data, which is the production of conventional gasoline. This is the production of the Varennes plant as such, and this is the net reductions of the emissions, this versus this one, okay? And all of these are site specifics. We're talking about biomass production, transportation of biomass, chemicals, other chemicals, production of the alcohol itself, electrical power, co-products, production of bioethanol and certain products, combustion of the gasoline and co-products, and then the equivalence of what would happen with dry distillate grains and things like that. So basically, this amount minus this one gives you your net reduction, okay? Always without talking about process or talking about feedstock. The biggest gain you get is the usage of the ethanol in the motor instead of gasoline, okay? This accounts roughly for half of the gain in the specific data. If you look at feedstock and then production, feedstocks account roughly for 15 and the production for about 10. So half of your gains come from the use of the product, whatever process you used, and about the quarter of the gain you get is generated by the biomass you use and its pre-treatment, as well as the operation of the process itself, okay? Things that could impact greatly is the source of energy. In Quebec, we're very lucky. I would say, ouais. C'est comment, Philippe, 98% l'hydroélectricité? Okay, so basically, all of our electrical power in Quebec is renewable, okay? So the impact of this figure over here is basically very small, okay? If I would be in an area where we're producing, let's say, electrical power from coal, this could kill basically a project. You follow me? Bing. So then what does it mean? So this is the main contributor, okay? Processing of the feedstock and the ethanol, roughly 25%. Things that people always overlook, although don't even look at all, is the site location, source of energy. This is transportation of feedstocks. What are the markets for the co-products? These are as important as the previous one. And each project is site-specific, and greenhouse gases calculations must consider all local conditions. It has to be like that, and everyone has got to be on the same level playing field. Bing. This is a crack to my Quebec government. I mean, yesterday we had two presentations, one from the people in Cette, the other one from Paul Cartier, and we do not have presently in Quebec the same type of incentive that, let's say, exists in the States. So basically we have to be put on the same kind of a playing level field, same advantages, at least to be competitive. Otherwise there will not be other biofuels projects in Quebec, okay? So we did announce our energy policy, and in order to stimulate local production of renewable fuels, Quebec must put in place specific regulations, standards, or fiscal measures to be competitive with the equivalent in North America and in Europe. It does not mean to implement the same thing. It means to be competitive, okay? And food for thought, we're talking about implementing a local mandate. People say, if you put a mandate in place, projects will come. This is false, totally false. You put a mandate in place to protect your local market. Then you need fiscal measures competitive to other jurisdiction to be capable to get the plants in the ground, okay? And the mandate should grow in same proportion that the local increase of production. If you don't, all you'll be doing will be promoting imports. Competitive measures, okay? Here, from the conclusions we had from the analysis of the greenhouse gases reduction over the cycle, the incentive measures should be feedstock and process agnostic. Why? Because at the end of the day, what we want to promote and favor on the overall cycle of greenhouse gases reduction and carbon footprint is the best projects at the end. So everyone should be measured and judged on the same approach, same technical basis, and what we should measure is not feedstock or process, It should be the carbon footprint and carbon intensity, okay? These calculations should not be done by the promoter, okay? I'm in conflict of interest if I'm doing this myself, and I should never do that. So there are specialized people, knowledgeable, certified professionals, working with renowned models, and these are the people that should effectively qualify the projects, okay? And then, whatever government support program is in place, it should be based on this kind of a ranking. Bing! Hey! Already over. Faut que tu aies pris des notes, Philippe.
How many tons of feedstock do you need for the project?
Tu parles de quel projet?
Le projet de CRB pour de l'éthanol cellulose, qui parlait de pas de CRD.
Okay. The question is, how many tons of feedstock do we need effectively for the what we call the CRB project? This is the demonstration project. Okay. So basically, it is not based on a annual feedstock. Okay, so it's a big demonstration site of a project, and basically, for demonstration purposes, it's batches. Okay, let's call that of prepared liquid solutions of roughly 70,000 liters per batch. So that's per week. Okay, when we're going to grow up to a full model, the module will become then an output of 40 million liters of alcohol. Okay, and certainly that the incoming feed material will still be in the vicinity roughly of 100,000 tons per year. Ça répond à ta question? Tu peux dire non? Tu faut être bien à l'aise avec ça aussi. Okay.
Great presentation, I like it.
Merci, monsieur.
I would like to start with a comment or suggestion. I think if you want to increase the mandate level,
Yeah.
I think the competition now is not internal combustion engine using commercial fuel, it's electrical car. In terms of GHG calculation, probably,
That's fine.
I think probably it's great for this presentation.
Yes.
My question is regarding, I saw in your table, GHG table, that you showed that the combustion of ethanol,
Yes.
there is no emission.
Yeah. No, that's the standard practice. Because basically, the theory is, and you'll agree with me, is that when you're using a renewable fuel, okay, what happens is that you take your harvested crop, use it as the fuel, and then the CO2 that you generate while combustion go back in the atmosphere to refeed again the other crop. So that's the theory all over the place, okay? Now, does this balance by the gram at the end? Honestly, I don't know. But this is the thinking worldwide.
Alain Garnier, génie chimique de l'Université Laval.
Bonjour, monsieur.
I was under the impression
Yes.
that starch-based
Yes.
ethanol wasn't that, didn't show such a good
Yes.
ratio of GHG emission.
Yes.
You showed 50% reduction.
Yes.
And I thought that, general study was almost
Yes.
0% reduction. So there's a big difference.
It is.
Can it just be explained by location or methodology?
No. I can demonstrate anything that you want, okay? And document it and justify it, okay? I've written we have 4 plants, okay? The first plant we built was in 1989 in Tiverton, okay? The greenhouse gases reduction studies for that plant is disastrous, okay? And why? It's a very old design, okay? Not optimized at all, not energy integrated, okay? Like distilleries used to be made in the 70s. Why is it like this? Because distilleries comes from booze, okay? We do sell booze, vodka, okay? If you take a 26 ounces of vodka, okay, at 40%, there's maybe, okay, the equivalent of $1 of the product in, okay? I'm talking about alcohol. The rest is all marketing, whatever you want, bottling, okay? So whether my product is sold $1.25 or $1.15 or whatsoever, consumer does not even know, okay? So no one bothered to improve those plants and those processes. It's those technologies that were used at the end of the 70s and the 80s for alcohol production. Same thinking, okay? So my answer to you is the following. Roughly at about every 6 or 7 years, there has been improvements in alcohol production, okay? Integration with the energy, different processes whatsoever, and this is what leads to these results. That's why I'm saying there's no such thing as, if you're doing the alcohol with starch, this is your picture. If you do it with waste, this is your picture. It is not true, okay? Depending on the process characteristics, depending on the location, it has a different set of results, okay? So our 4 distilleries behave differently. If I give you an example, Tiverton would use twice as much energy per liter as Varennes does, okay? But you want to say, well, still it's a dry mill, it's a distillation. False. It's all a matter about design and how the plant is integrated itself. Ça vous est sûr? Je vous remercie. Oops. Oui. Yes.
I'm wondering if you are doing a separation process between the liquid part and the solid part before giving to the farmer, or you are giving the whole digestate to the farmer?
It is separated, okay? It is separated.
And what you are doing with the liquid part?
Basically, it's retreated, okay? And most of the water is recirculated. Then we have another fraction, which is concentrated liquid that we're planning to use as fertilizers, but in niche markets, okay? Like greenhouses or things like that. Okay?
You said this is liquid product
If what?
for fertilizer. You said, is it in a commercial fertilizer? Is it a commercial one?
It will be. It will be next year. We're going to start building the plant next week. Okay? So if you want to place orders, call me back at Christmas '97. Make a gift for you. Oui, monsieur.
Your new plant will also be producing cellulosic ethanol. To my knowledge, the only market for that is in the U.S. with mandates through our
Yes.
Is that the driving force for this? Is there hope for something like that in Canada?
Your question is partly yes and partly no. Okay? If we would have a real discussion about where do we stand with cellulosic ethanol, okay? Sometimes people ask me questions and they say it does not exist. Oops. Which is real and false at the same time. It exists in labs, okay? It does not exist on a fairly high commercial level. We have to understand that, okay? So far, if you look at the surveys for the past, let's say, 2 years, we had identified 21 projects in North America, serious projects about cellulosic ethanol production, okay? Today, the same list, including Enerchem, is down to 4 serious projects. Half of them went bankrupt. The other half was strictly abandoned, okay? The reason for this is it's not easy, okay? Not easy to take the stable and turn that into alcohol. This is what cellulosic ethanol does, okay? So what we're trying to do is that you have to de-risk those projects, okay? So the demonstration plant I showed you, this is $5 million we've invested, okay, to have a toy in our plant to play with, to determine where are the problems, how can we solve them, okay? Now, States is an ideal place to make the business because of the RINs and all of that. There's no such thing in Canada. As long as this will not be there, there will be no similar projects in Canada. That's why we're saying to the government, It's nice they have announcing energy strategies. We need to have locally competitive measures to the States, Canada, and also in Europe. I'm not saying duplicating, competitive. Then we go, okay? We're committed GreenField with the Quebec government that put this regulation in place. We will commit production of something like 50 or 100 million more liters per year in variant. Gretzky, right? Good. Merci, messieurs. Merci, madame.